on. Joining us now is Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. She's a leading member of the House Armed Services Committee, also a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. She herself served in the U.S. military, is an Iraq War veteran. Congresswoman, thanks very much for coming in. When you hear the painful story, 4 U.S. Marines gunned down at a recruiting station in Chattanooga, Tennessee, by this individual, we don't know the motive, Mohammed Yusuf Abdulaziz. What goes through your mind?
It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see our brothers in arms, sons of our nation, sons and daughters of our nation gunned down like this. These are people who volunteered to put their lives on the line for our country, and just, you know, my heart and prayers go out to their family members and the family members of those who were injured by this horrible attack. And we have to do, clearly, we have to do more. This is not the first attack that we've seen on these recruiting stations, and we can't allow these service members to really be sitting ducks for these types of attacks.
As much as you want these recruiting stations to be open, anyone can walk in, young men and women want to get some information about possibly serving their country, just going in, chatting with an officer. You got to be worried about the security. You got to beef up security.
Well, and I think there are some things that we can look at. I recognize what the recruiters are saying, that, you know, they want to have an open and inviting and welcoming environment to be able to talk to those who are interested in serving our country in uniform. But when you look at this attack and you look at the attack that occurred in Arkansas in 2009, both of them were drive-by shootings. This tells me we need to do more about putting bulletproof glass, perhaps, to make it so you have at least one more line of defense in these recruiting stations. Look into the possibility of having some kind of armed guard there, whether it's a military service member or some other type of guard, so that you at least have a way for our trained warriors to be able to defend themselves against these types of attacks.
Because we heard from Barbara Starr, our Pentagon correspondent, that they deliberately decided, for whatever reason, over the years to make it an inviting place. The U.S. military personnel, the recruiters, whether Marines, sailors, airmen, soldiers, whatever, they wouldn't be armed at these various facilities. No weapons would be there. You say take another look at that.
Well, I think we're dealing with some very serious threats that are making themselves prominent now, as we see, unfortunately, like occurred today. I know recruiters, I have many of them who are friends of mine. They go out into the community and they spend time with folks out where they are. But I think when you have a situation where you have a recruiting station, it's sitting there, it's not moving. You can predict when our service members are going to be there, and that's where we've got to take steps to be able to make sure that they're kept safe. Because
we know just before July 4th, when there was a heightened state of alert, there was deep concern about some sort of terrorist plot, ISIS sympathizers, or whatever. The U.S. military did increase security at various bases all over the United States, indeed around the world. They went to a higher level of security, but not necessarily at these recruiting stations.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a vulnerability that we've got to make sure that we take action to change and to overcome. But I think it's also important as we look at this. I know we don't know the motive of this particular shooter in this instance, but we do know that ISIS and other extremist groups, Islamic extremist groups, are recruiting heavily online, and still no action has yet been taken to shut down their websites and social media sites where they are actively recruiting through the masses so that they can get more foreign fighters, so that they can get these kinds of lone wolves to launch these types of attacks. So we've got to take action to shut those down. If we do that seriously, we can seriously eliminate their ability to be able to recruit online.
So you would recommend doing at various military recruiting stations in your home state of Hawaii what the NYPD has now done in New York City?
I think we need to look at what actions we can take that still allow them to do their job, but also that they are protected and kept safe, as we're seeing these types of threats, unfortunately, continue to rise across the country.
Congresswoman, I want you to stay with us. We have more to discuss. We're following the breaking news, much more, right after this.